The call came at 2:17 a.m., not loud, not urgent, just precise. My phone vibrated once against the wooden floor beside the mattress. I didn't move at first. I stared at the ceiling, counting the faint cracks in the paint, the way surgeons count seconds before incision. It rang again. I answered without checking the screen. Silence. Not the empty kind, the listening kind. A breath came through the speaker, slow, careful, as if someone was afraid their lungs might confess something their mouth shouldn't. Then a whisper, "Is it true?" I didn't speak, because the voice wasn't asking, it was testing. Another breath. Closer now. "They said you already knew." My fingers tightened around the phone. The plastic casing creaked softly, like a bone under pressure. Knew what? But I didn't ask. Questions give people time to lie. Instead I listened. On the other end, something shifted. Fabric brushing fabric. A door closing. Muffled voices far away. Then her voice again. Lower. Shaking. "Tell me it's not true." Her, my brother's wife. The woman who smiled when I packed my bags. Who leaned against the doorway and watched me fold my clothes like I was folding myself out of existence. "It would be better if you left the house along with me." She'd said it sweetly, mockingly, like she was offering mercy instead of exile. And my father didn't look at me when he spoke. Vacate the room. Just that. No explanation. No accusation. No eye contact. Like I was a stain he expected the walls to absorb. I left that night with one suitcase and a silence that tasted like metal. Now, she was calling me at 2:17 a.m., asking if something was true. I still didn't answer. On the line, her breathing hitched. I saw the file. A pause. "They said you requested it." My pulse slowed, not sped up, slowed. The way it does when something you predicted finally arrives. Outside my window, a stray dog barked once, then stopped. Even the street seemed to be listening. "What file?" I asked quietly. She exhaled too fast. The sound of someone realizing they'd already said too much. "The test." Silence filled the space again. Thick, wet, alive. My reflection in the dark window stared back at me, still, composed, patient. I looked like a man waiting for a train he already knew was late. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said. Not loud, not defensive, just flat. Her whisper cracked. "They told me." The result came. My jaw tightened by a fraction. So that's why she was panicking. Not because of the truth. Because of who had it. A faint noise slipped through her end like paper being unfolded with trembling hands. "Please," she breathed. "Just say it isn't real." I leaned back slowly against the wall, closed my eyes, and for the first time since I left that house, I smiled. Not because I was happy, because the game had finally begun. I didn't answer her. Not immediately. Silence is a blade. If you hold it long enough, the other person cuts themselves trying to grab it. On the phone, she swallowed. I could hear it, wet, nervous, involuntary. The sound of someone realizing the floor beneath them might not be solid after all. I think there's been a mistake," she said. Mistake. People love that word. It sounds softer than lie, kinder than betrayal. I let out a slow breath, controlled, measured. The kind that sounds calm even when your thoughts are dissecting someone alive. "What result?" I asked. She hesitated. That was the first confirmation, because innocent people don't hesitate when truth is on their side. "The report," she whispered. "The hospital one." Hospital. My gaze drifted to the ceiling again. Same cracks, same shape, but now they looked different. Like fractures spreading across glass right before it shatters. I remembered the night my brother arrived. The door had opened without warning, luggage wheels scraping tile, his voice loud, triumphant, possessive. "I'm back." Behind him, she stood with one hand on her stomach, protective, proud, smiling like she'd won something no one else knew was a competition. Pregnant. My father's chair scraped back before I could stand. Vacate the room. No greeting, no question, no explanation, just judgment delivered like a verdict already signed. I didn't argue, didn't ask why, didn't look at my brother, because I already knew something was wrong. Not logically, instinctively. Predators smell rot before they see it. She watched me pack, leaning on the doorframe, head tilted, eyes bright with something that wasn't kindness. It would be better if you left the house along with me. Sweet voice, cruel meaning. My brother laughed softly behind her, not loud enough for father to notice, but I heard it. I hear everything. Back on the phone, her breathing grew uneven. You requested it, she said suddenly. Why would you request something like that if you didn't think? She stopped herself. Too late. My fingers tapped once against my knee. I request many things, I said. Flat, neutral, unreadable. A long pause. Then, you think the baby isn't his. Not a question. An accusation disguised as fear. I said nothing, because truth doesn't need defending. Only lies panic. Her voice cracked again, thinner now. They said the DNA sample. It matched someone else. There it was. The first fracture breaking open. I stared at the wall across from me, at a tiny stain shaped like a fingerprint. I'd noticed it 3 nights ago. Didn't wipe it. Didn't touch it. I wanted to see how long it would take before someone else saw it too. No one ever does. People only notice stains when they're on themselves. You shouldn't have done that, she whispered. Not angry. Afraid? Which meant one thing. She wasn't afraid of the result. She was afraid of me having it. Interesting. Outside, a car passed. Headlights slid across my window like a slow blade of light, then disappeared. I didn't do anything, I said. And that was true, because the investigation had started long before the test, long before the hospital, long before she ever knew I was watching. Her voice dropped to a tremor. Then why does the report have your name on it? I opened my eyes. The smile returned. Small, precise, surgical. Because that was the wrong question. People think suspicion feels like fire. It doesn't. Fire is loud, wild, obvious. Suspicion is ice, silent, precise, patient. It started the day my brother announced the pregnancy. Not with her words, not with his smile, with the timing. He'd been gone 11 months. Working, he said. Traveling, he said. Building a future, he said. She was 3 months pregnant when he returned. No one else calculated that. I did. Not out of jealousy, out of habit. I've always counted things. Steps, seconds, lies. Especially lies. I didn't confront them. Confrontation is for people who need noise to feel powerful. I prefer information, so I watched. Quietly. At dinner, she avoided acidic food but drank black coffee. Strange for someone who claimed nausea. When father asked about doctor visits, she answered too quickly. Memorized sentences. Rehearsed tone. My brother never noticed. He watched her like a man staring at a painting he'd already bought, proud, blind, unquestioning. I noticed everything. Her phone angle when she texted. The way she stepped outside for calls. How her smile faded the moment his back turned. Patterns. People are patterns pretending to be spontaneous. 3 nights before they threw me out, she fell asleep on the couch. Her phone slid from her hand onto the floor. Screen lit. Message preview. Unknown number. Did you tell him yet? I didn't touch the phone. Didn't need to. Because seconds later, another message. Unknown number. You promised you would before he came back. My pulse stayed steady. Always does. I memorized the number. Numbers don't lie. They only reveal. That night, while they slept, I sat in the kitchen with my laptop and a glass of water I never drank. The house was silent except for father's snoring down the hall. Reverse search. Registration trace. Linked accounts. The number belonged to a private clinic. Not her clinic. Not any clinic she'd mentioned. Interesting. 2 days later I visited it. Not as myself. As a courier. Cap low. Mask on. Posture different. People never recognize you if your confidence changes shape. Receptionist. Young. Distracted. Overworked. Easy. I slid an envelope across the desk. Calm voice. Neutral face. Delivery for patient file confirmation. Needs signature verification. She barely looked up. Stamped it. Signed it. Passed me the clipboard. Names. Dates. Patient ID numbers. And there, her name. Appointment records. Multiple visits. Before my brother returned. Before she told anyone she was pregnant. Before she even claimed to know. My reflection in the glass door looked almost bored. But inside, pieces were moving. Not fast. Precisely. I left without rushing. Rushing is suspicion. Calm is invisibility. That night at dinner, she smiled at me. Soft, polite, calculated. I smiled back, colder. She looked away first. That's when I knew. She sensed it. Not proof. Not evidence. Me. Predators recognize when they're being studied. 3 days later, my brother arrived. Luggage. Laughter. Arms around her shoulders. Pride in his voice. And father said, "Vacate the room." Back on the phone now, her breathing trembled through the speaker. You went to the clinic, didn't you? She whispered. I traced a finger along the wall crack beside me. Slow, thoughtful. I go many places, I said. Silence. Then, how much do you know? I closed my eyes. Because that question told me everything. She wasn't wondering if I knew. She was wondering how far. And that meant the truth was already afraid of me. Her question stayed in the air. How much do you know? Not what. Not why. How much? Measurements again. People always reveal themselves in units. I didn't answer right away. I let the silence expand until it pressed against her lungs. I could hear it happening, her breath shortening, quickening, thinning like thread pulled too tight. Finally, I spoke. Enough. One word. Carefully chosen, because enough is the most terrifying quantity in the world. It means the other person doesn't know where your knowledge ends. On her side, something dropped. Maybe paper, maybe her composure. You shouldn't have interfered, she whispered. Interfered? Not investigated, not misunderstood. Interfered? Language is a confession if you listen long enough. I stood and walked to the window. The streetlight outside painted the pavement in a dull yellow stain. Still, empty, waiting. I didn't interfere, I said quietly. I verified. Her breath caught. And then, you had no right. There it was. Not denial. Ownership. My fingers tapped once against the glass. Rights only matter when someone's afraid of losing control. I didn't use your name, I continued. I didn't accuse you. I didn't tell anyone. Pause. I just confirmed a timeline. Silence. Then, what timeline? Her voice was smaller now, like she was shrinking inside her own skin. I pictured her standing in that house, in the hallway, maybe clutching the phone with both hands, eyes wide, mind racing through memories, trying to locate which one betrayed her. I leaned my forehead lightly against the cool window. You said you were 3 months pregnant when he arrived. No reply. Outside, a breeze stirred dust across the asphalt. The clinic records show your first prenatal visit was 5 months before that. A sharp inhale. I continued, tone unchanged. And the blood work date was 6 months before his return. Paper rustled violently on her end. She had it in front of her. The report. Good. People accept truth faster when it's printed. That's not, she started, stopped, restarted. That's not proof of anything. Lie. Weak. Predictable. I let a full 5 seconds pass. Then 6. Then 7. Silence stretches guilt like gravity stretches light. Finally, I said, "You're right." She froze. I heard it. Total stillness. Because she expected attack, not agreement. It's not proof, I continued. Dates can be explained. Her breathing resumed. Slightly steadier, hope creeping back like mold. Then I added, DNA can't. The silence that followed was different, not tense, dead. When she spoke again, her voice was barely audible. You opened it, not a question, a realization. Yes. Paper trembled through the speaker. I told them to send the result to me, I said. Not the house. A sharp whisper. Why? I smiled faintly. Because that answer was simple, so no one could destroy it before I read it. Her breathing broke. A sound escaped her throat, not quite a sob, not quite a word. The sound a structure makes when its foundation finally cracks. It's wrong, she said quickly. Tests can be wrong. Labs make mistakes. Samples get mixed up. They repeated it, I said. Quiet. Precise. 3 times. Her voice shattered. No, I didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't soften. The child, I said calmly, is not my brother's. Silence. Pure. Absolute. Crushing. Then, a whisper. Who is it? I closed my eyes. Because that was the question I'd been waiting for. Her question lingered. Who is it? Not denial anymore, not defense. Just fear. Pure, unfiltered fear. I didn't answer. I let her sit inside it. Because fear, when left alone long enough, starts speaking for you. On the phone I heard her footsteps pacing. Fast. Uneven, like she was trying to outrun. A thought that kept catching up. You don't know, she said quickly. You can't know. The report wouldn't say that. It doesn't show names. It only shows probability markers numbers. She was rambling. Good. People only recite science when they're praying logic will save them. I walked back to the mattress and sat down slowly. Every movement deliberate, controlled, measured. You're right again, I said. Her words stopped mid-breath. Because agreement from the person holding your secret is more frightening than accusation. The report doesn't list a name, I continued. Pause. It lists a match. Silence. Then, a faint, trembling whisper. Match? I tilted my head, staring at the dark screen of the TV across the room. My reflection stared back, calm, detached, almost bored. Yes. My thumb traced the edge of the phone. I ran a comparison. Her breathing stopped. Not slowed. Stopped. You, what? She breathed. I already had a sample. Silence slammed into the call. I could almost hear her mind flipping through memories, searching for the moment. The mistake. The second she'd left a trace without realizing. People always do. You remember, I said softly. The dinner 3 weeks ago? No response. Just faint air moving through the speaker. You made tea. Still nothing. You handed me the cup yourself. Her voice cracked. So? I closed my eyes. Because this was my favorite part. The rim, I said. Lip residue. Saliva cells. Enough for extraction. Her breath came back all at once, ragged, sharp. You tested me? She whispered. Yes. The word landed like a stone dropped down a well. No splash. Just depth. That's illegal, she said quickly. You can't just test someone's DNA without consent. That's not admissible. That's not. This isn't court, I said. Quiet. Flat. This is truth. Her steps resumed. Faster now. I could hear something knocking against a wall on her end. Maybe her shoulder. Maybe her thoughts. You're lying, she said. But her voice didn't believe it. So I delivered the cut. The father's DNA profile, I said, matched someone already in the system. Silence. 1 second. 2, 3. Then, who? Barely sound. Barely breath. I looked at my reflection again. Studied it. Memorized it. Because this was the moment everything would divide into before and after. The match, I said calmly, was from a previous medical record. Her whisper trembled. Whose? I spoke gently, almost kindly. My brother's best friend. The sound she made wasn't a cry, wasn't a word. It was the sound of a mask tearing. On the other end, something crashed. Maybe a chair, maybe her knees hitting the floor. No, she breathed. No, 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 no. Denial. Fast, desperate, childlike. It's not true. I didn't argue, didn't insist, didn't push. Because truth doesn't need pressure once it's inside someone. It's not true, she repeated, voice breaking. Tell me it's not true. I let the silence stretch one last time, then said softly, you should ask him. Her breath hitched violently, because she understood. Not someday, not later, now. I glanced at the clock. 2:31 a.m. Perfect timing. He's awake, I added. A pause. How do you know? She whispered. I smiled. Small, precise, because that was the final move. I sent him the report first. Silence detonated, and somewhere far away through the phone, I heard a door open. The door opened on her end. Slow, heavy, final. I didn't hear his footsteps. I didn't need to. I heard the absence instead. Rooms change when truth enters them. Air thickens. Walls listen. Even silence starts holding its breath. Her whisper shattered into fragments. You read it wrong. He doesn't understand those reports. He'll think. She stopped. Because she realized something. Understanding wasn't required. Numbers don't need interpretation when betrayal is already suspected. A man doesn't study a DNA report. He looks at one line. Probability of paternity, 0%. That's all it takes. On the phone, fabric rustled. A muffled voice in the background, his voice. Low. Confused. Sharp. Her breathing turned frantic. No, listen, I can explain. I leaned back against the wall, closed my eyes, and listened. Not to their words, to their collapse. Because destruction has a sound. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just small things breaking one after another. Trust. Pride. Certainty. Illusions. His voice rose slightly, not shouting. Worse. Controlled anger. The kind that means the damage already happened inside. What is this? 3 words. Flat. Dead. Her reply came out tangled. It's wrong. The test is wrong. Someone tampered with it. He hates me. He must have. She stopped. Too late. Accusations always arrive before evidence. Silence again. Then his voice. Quieter. You lied to me? Not rage. Not pain. Just realization. That tone. I knew it well. It's the same tone surgeons use when they find a tumor they suspected all along. Her breathing broke into sobs now. Wet. Panicked. Uncontrolled. I didn't mean to. It was before you came back. I thought it didn't matter. I thought. A sound. Not a word. A chair scraping back. Then footsteps. Slow. Measured. Each one louder than shouting. I imagined his face. Not furious. Empty. Because rage means attachment. Emptiness means it's already over. The phone slipped slightly against her cheek. I heard the shift of air as she turned, probably reaching for him. Please, she whispered. Say something. No reply. Just footsteps continuing. Toward the door. Her voice cracked into terror. Where are you going? Silence. Handle turning. The smallest sound in the world. Click. The line filled with her breathing. Alone now. Fast. Shallow. Animal. She whispered my name. Not angrily. Not accusingly. Begging. Did you plan this? I opened my eyes. Looked at the ceiling. The cracks hadn't changed. They never do. I didn't plan anything, I said. Truth. Carefully worded. I just didn't stop the truth from arriving. She began crying openly now. No restraint. No dignity. Just sound. Raw. Human. Powerless. I didn't think it would matter, she choked. I thought once he came back, everything would reset. I thought if I acted normal, it would disappear. I said nothing. Because lies don't disappear. They wait. Patient. Like I do. Her voice shrank to a whisper. Why didn't you tell him before? I answered honestly. Because you asked me to leave. Silence. Understanding hit her slowly. I could feel it through the phone the moment realization sinks its teeth in. If she hadn't mocked me, if she hadn't pushed me out, if she hadn't smiled while I packed, I might never have bothered finishing the investigation. Her own cruelty had completed it. She breathed out one last broken sentence. You ruined my life. I tilted my head slightly, considered that, then replied. No. Pause. You did. I pulled the phone away from my ear. Her crying continued. Small. Distant. Fading. For a moment I watched the screen. Then, I ended the call. Silence returned to my room. Still. Clean. Controlled. I lay back on the mattress and stared at the ceiling again. Same cracks. Same shapes. But something was different now. Not the room. Me. Because revenge isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't celebrate. It doesn't smile. It simply restores balance. I closed my eyes. And finally, there was nothing left to feel. Final line. Some truths don't destroy lives. They just remove the lies that were living them.